Hello, welcome back to one of my chart analysis videos. So the purpose of my videos is to help you spot uh, opportunities in the market and try to determine which way a trade's going to go. And we can learn a lot just by watching a lot of these. You don't really need to trade them to learn. If you trade some of these, you're going to learn the hard way. It's best to watch and learn. If you do want to trade them, then it's best to have some tools to help you identify the direction. And for my tools, I love to use Ichimoku. This screen cloud here I spoke about in my last video. So the cloud can offer support, but if the cloud is too steep, price tends not to respect it. Over here we're getting a thick red cloud, which is more likely price will respect that cloud. Flat top here indicates resistance. So this GameStop, we're looking at a daily chart here. Took a huge spike up, long wick, momentum down. Try to respawn down here. This is a 100 period moving average, 50 period. Nice bullish candle right here. A little bit of bullish price action. I really don't see this going past 250. If you want to trade this, I would look for it to stay above this blue line, which is called the Tenkan-sen line on the Ichimoku indicator. But one interesting thing to look at is a 4-hour time frame. I like the 4-hour time frame. It gives me a little bit different perspective. But look at this big red cloud and how price is pulled right up to it. So I would say Monday or Tuesday, we're going to see if price respects this cloud. We could potentially see a huge drop. I would not be taking a long trade right here. It's just really interesting to watch and learn from these. So I'm going to be watching that to see where this goes. Not trading it. Hey, this one's been really hot. Let's look at a daily chart first. Okay, this jumped up on some bullish news, new developments in the company. I'm not going to go into too much about that story. We're just going to look at technicals here and base this on technical trading. Okay, price is staying above this red line. Momentum is really steep. It's hard to see this when you're in a live trade, and a trade like this is super risky, which is why I'm not in it. I missed out on this trade. I don't need to trade everything that jumps out of the box. That's just reckless trading. If you are in it or you want to just watch it to learn, we got this kind of stair-step pattern going here, and a stair-stepping thin cloud. These flat bases here are good levels of support. So right now we're testing this level of support on the daily chart here. I would look for price to hold this. This is a 50 period moving average. That's not part of the Ichimoku indicator. That's just something I add in there. 50, 100, and 200 period moving averages. So I primarily use those and the Ichimoku. So let's look at the 4-hour chart. That gives you a little bit more information. I spoke before, as part of the Ichimoku system, when these moving average lines right here stay on top of each other and price stays above them, that's very bullish. Right here we had price come underneath the Tenkan-sen line, the blue line, and now the blue has crossed the red. This is called the Kijun-sen line. Tenkan-sen, Kijun-sen, this is referred to as a TK cross. These moving average lines have crossed, and price is below the Tenkan-sen now. So what we're going to see now ultimately is downtrending pressure from this indicator line. I'm actually looking for this trade to fail and drop here, but it's going to be interesting to see what it does, because this flat bottom of the cloud here is support. If that fails, I potentially see this falling down to Around this range is kind of a support range. See how price spent a lot of time right here? So this area is support. We have a flat bottom of the cloud, and of course the top of the cloud can be seen as support too. But this trend is so steep, it's just it's very risky. Okay. But like I say, we can learn from watching these things. If you do happen to get on one of these trades because you like the news, then this gives you a signal of when to potentially take your profits. These things tend to trade on hype, and a lot of people just jump in, and the momentum is too fast to be sustained. It needs to develop a nice sustainable trend. It can't just go straight up forever. So anyway, we'll be watching that, but I am predicting that this is going to drop. Okay. Let's look at Tilray. This is a pot stock, and I hate pot stocks. I don't think they're good investments right now. Maybe someday. Most of the companies really aren't profitable. I'm not really here to talk about fundamentals. We're going to look at technicals. I'm actually short in this trade because I don't like it. But we have some nice downtrending action here. It's a 4-hour chart. Price is staying below the Tinkinson, below Kijinson. We have some pretty good down momentum. At some point, price tends to want to pull back to the cloud and test it. If we get some bullish, the market turns bullish again, and people try to pile into this, it may test this cloud again, and then we're going to look for a reaction for it to continue down. Since I'm short this trade, I may take my profits if I see these moving averages cross, where price starts to look bullish. And then I may think about getting into it again if we test the cloud. That's a good baseline to base a trade, because if the price action doesn't respect the cloud, then I just close my trade. But quite often, with a thick cloud like that, and this huge spike up, this is all a lot of resistance up in here. This thing jumped all the way up to what, $65, $66. Then I like to look at a long-term picture. This thing pretty much was resurrected from the grave down here at, I don't know, about $9. Went all the way up to $68. That's quite a trade. That's, I don't know, 700%. So many people want to jump in these things. They just want to get rich quick. They think they can beat the market. So look here, what I'm talking about, price staying above the Tinkinson and Kijinson. We had a nice trade here staying above that Tinkinson, Kijinson, and right here, this was a huge red flag. Big bearish engulfing candle, okay? Engulfing means it's much larger than any other candle around it. It's a very bearish signal. And then on the daily chart, it looks like we're trying to react to the cloud right here. But like I've mentioned, if the cloud is too steep, I mean, is price really going to try to make this steep of an ascent again? I doubt it. The cloud's too steep for the price to respect it. Alibaba, this thing is kind of gotten hammered lately, but I like this as a long-term investment. This red line right here is actually a trend line that I've drawn on a long period of time chart. So let's look at like 15 years. Okay, a lot of people don't like to look at a chart for this long a period of time. This green line I drew right here, this is a good area of support because price got defeated up in this area a couple times and then finally got above it. So this was resistance. Once price gets above it, it is now support. Okay, so we zoom in. We fell a little below it here. We did some nice trying to react to it right here. And here's that long-term trend line. And we're right here at both of these. There are some concerning signals where we're below these moving averages. So for long-term investments, I really don't rely on Ichimoku. I like to look at these long-term signals. A nice long-term trend line, this support area. So this gives me a nice, excuse me, this gives me a nice baseline to base a trade, because if this fails, I can cut my losses early. We did come down below it here, and we came back up. So you need to give price action time to evolve. You can't just say, well, it dropped below this at 3 o'clock or at 10 o'clock in the morning or something, so my stop loss went off. I don't do that. I look daily, or maybe I'll just check on it once a week and see what the price is doing. So nice price will come below it a little bit before it reacts. So you need to be patient with these things. I do like that as a long-term investment, and I'm probably going to buy a little bit more this week. Tesla has been a hot topic. The market has really loved this stock, but so many people are in it, and at some point it runs out of buyers, and of course they missed on their earnings, and Elon's brother sold a bunch of shares, and that hurt the chart. But the whole EV sector has been out of favor lately. So I'm actually short this trade as well. This is a daily chart. We've fallen below the cloud. I don't know what's up with these long wicks here. It almost looks like price jumped up here to $870, but I don't see that on the 30-minute chart, so I'm not sure why my chart is showing that. But if it did indeed do that, just imagine if you'd had a sell order up here where you could just have taken your profits at $870 instead of getting hammered down here at $600. So I'm actually short this trade right now. Look at a 4-hour chart. We have some fast downtrending momentum. So we have a big long wick right here, which indicates that we're getting way oversold. And way oversold doesn't necessarily mean that the price action is going to reverse. It just means that it needs to pull back some. These you get too much momentum going on, and then the price wants to tend to pull back and test this Kijinsen again, or at some point test this cloud. So these things tend to maintain equilibrium, and at some point this price is probably going to come and test this cloud over here. I don't know when, but at some point it will. So what I'm seeing right here is really is too much momentum, and this is due for a bit of a bounce, I think. On the daily chart, let's see what we had to react to. We fell through the 100 period moving average. We fell through the bottom of the cloud and had a big pickup in momentum down, and then a bit of a bounce. So if you're not familiar with how candle wicks work, or candlesticks, with a downtrending, with a red candle, price opened at the top of the candle, fell as low as the wick during the day, and closed at the bottom of the candle. Candlesticks are great. They give you a lot of information about how the stock traded for one day, or whatever your time period is. It's a daily. And so right down here we have the 200 period moving average, which could cause a reaction. But for price to keep going, I think this chart's just way overdone. And one of the reasons I think it's way overdone is, like I say, let's look at the long term, okay? I've drawn a trend line here. Now, trend lines are not necessarily respected by the chart, but it is a possible scenario. We had a long period of consolidation here, years, okay? 2014 over here, 2019, 5 years. For 5 years, this thing just traded in a range. So this is referred to as consolidation, or a base. Okay, we broke above this base, had a huge bullish breakout. The bigger the base, the higher the space, as they say. So this was a great trade. For new traders coming in to chase this kind of momentum is just crazy. I did trade this and I got out early. I got out a little bit too early because I think it's just dangerous. That kind of momentum is dangerous, and for it to just maintain this steep of a trend line, I think is a little unrealistic. It needs to stabilize and form a more manageable trend line. Okay, so I'm not liking this at all for trying to go long here. It's a possibility price could come down to this 200 period moving average and fool traders into thinking it's going to go back up, get to a certain point, we're going to have a red downtrending cloud, and possibly fail again. You can't predict the future, but the indicator does give you a pretty good visual of some high probabilities. All right, General Motors. So I saw a top occur in this. This was one of the first warning signals that the EV market was topping out. Was this double top? But this chart's actually surprised me because it's not getting hammered like Tesla is. It's behaving differently than the other EV stocks, which indicates that it's really not overbought, and the valuation is probably more acceptable to the market. We've got the 50 period moving average and the green Ichimoku cloud. We don't have a red cloud forming, but we are trading in a range right here. It's kind of range bound, so let's see, I can draw a line. Bottom of the range, support line, green. Okay, so this is our range. So I would say if you want to go long on this stock, see how the range is right here at the top of the cloud as well. If you want to go long on this stock, maybe try a buy order right here at the top of the cloud at $51, and watch for that to hold. Price falls below the bottom of the cloud and you start to get a twist over here, then if you're just trading and not investing, then that's your signal to get out. For long-term investing, like I say, I like to look at long period of time and trend lines, and I really don't see a nice trend here. I just see a lot of sort of range bound, kind of a W shape. We had a W shaped bottom here and a breakout. Some chart patterns to look for. I got the Ichimoku indicator here, so there's just a lot of lines, but you kind of get the idea of where the price action is going. Here's the COVID crash. Huge bounce. I think it's overbought. And look how steep the cloud is when you look at a long period of time. And it doesn't look that steep when you zoom in, but from a long period of time standpoint, that cloud is steep. And then here's that resistance level I pointed out, all-time high for this stock. Let's see how, I can only go back 15 years, so I don't know if it's ever been higher than that. Anyway, that's how I would trade that. So this is all just good training of how to analyze these things and recognize opportunities and try to predict where the price is going to go. Let's look at NEO. This has been another hot EV stock. Double top, a lot like GM, but this thing's just been getting hammered, and I think it was just up too much. I mean, everybody was just piling in. I put these arrows, you can see where price reacted to the 50 period moving average. I spoke about this in my last video. So this is just an update, but we can see it's trying to bounce off the 200 moving average. But we're going to have this downtrending red cloud to play with. And these downtrending indicators here, I see more resistance than support in this chart. Areas where price spent a lot of time can be support. These can be levels of support. I don't really see a lot of support until we get down to about $18 to $20. Okay, we're at $38 now. That's another 45 or so % down. I'm also short that stock. So see, we're getting oversold here. We had a reaction in oversold area. We're getting, look how far we are from the cloud. Okay, the further you get from the cloud, the more likely you are to have a pullback, and it gives you an indication of overbought or oversold state. I might say take profits in that, or I might just let it run for a long time, because it's just looking at the long-term chart. I don't like the way this looks. I think it's just up too much. So sometimes you'll see about a 50% retracement. So retrace 50% of this move. We're looking at $15. Remember what I said about $20? Some support here at $20. So I could feasibly make that my price target for my short trade, $15 to $20. Plug Power. Another hot one, looks a lot like Neo. I don't like this stock. It's been kind of a pump and dump for years. I was trading it way back here when it did this, and then just look how long it just bled off. You get these huge pumps, and then it can bleed off for years. And now we're all the way back at the top of the range. This could be considered kind of a V bottom, or no, I think it's just overdone. This trend is too steep. Oh, I'm short that one as well. And I'll be keeping an eye on the price action here using my indicators, Tinkinson, Kijinson, and the cloud. I also look at candlesticks. Look, we got this long wick here. I think I mentioned this in my last video, that price might be trying to find bottom here. We came up and tested the cloud, bounced back down, and we made another new low. So we're making lower highs and lower lows. Confirmed downtrend. Clovis. Somebody had asked me about this stock, so I thought I'd look at it. A lot of downtrending momentum. This cloud is really turning down, which is an indication that it's just bad news for this stock. We're trying to go long. Let's see, let's look at it long term. Is that 15 years? I'm not getting enough chart history. Apparently this hasn't been trading for very long. So we see some consolidation in this range here. You see it? How price just kind of stayed in this range right here. And finally we broke below it. That's a very bearish indicator. Fall below the cloud right here. If you were long this stock, that's where you get out. Right there. Look at all the downside price action you could have saved yourself if you just know when to get out. So some stocks I like for investing, some for trading. I trade hype and momentum, and I invest in good solid companies, something like Apple, Disney, Microsoft. And I'll get into that on my next video about how I determine buy points for investable stocks. So I'm going to wrap up this video for now and work on another one for long-term investing strategies.